One of the great things about ice is you can create what I consider intelligent effects. So here we have a very simple particle system. We can actually make this a extremely advanced intelligent particle system that reacts to objects and situations in our scene by using some of the advanced nodes that exist in XSI. So we have our standard nodes we're using, but there's lots of nodes such as state machines, if statements, and tests that you can actually make your particle system much more advanced. Let's just start with something simple. We're going to test and create an age. So let's add an age limit so the particles don't last forever. So we'll use a set particle age limit, and we'll just link this into the terminal node. We'll link it into port 2, and then relink the simulate into the last port. The simulate particle should always be the last node, or most of the time it should be the last node. Our age limit was set to 3 seconds, or 90 frames, and we'll hit play. We'll zoom out a bit and hit play, and you'll notice they do keep going. Let's give it a few more frames. And the reason for this is, even though we have a set particle age limit, we haven't told them what to do when they hit the limit. So in that case, let's do a delete. Particles can be deleted. Any points on the particle cloud can be deleted, and we're going to do a delete at age limit. It's another simple compound you can use, and it just tests the age limit. As you can see here, it gets the age limit, does a little if statement test. If it's below a certain value, then it will delete them. So we'll just link this straight into ice tree. We'll go port 3 and relink the simulate back up again. You can also add ports in here, so if we didn't want to delete and undelete, we can go right mouse button, insert port before, and then you can link one in very easily. So hit play now, the particles emit, and then after 3 seconds they will start to delete or disappear. So that's a quite simple effect. The next thing I want to do, now the set particle age limit we kind of set in port 2. If we want, it'd be better actually to link this into emit on execute. And what that would do is on every frame, every time a particle is emitted, it will set that particle's age limit. That's a better way of doing it. So same effect happens, and there we are. That's great. So that's the start, but now let's perform a slightly more advanced test. Let's go and get a null. So we get a primitive null. We'll change its shape from an icon null to rings. We'll increase its size a bit. I'm just going to move it up a little higher. Great. So we have our null here. There's a great way of doing test inside null. So we do a test just by typing test inside null. There we are. And we need to get the null as well, because it's not a very good test without getting a null. So we'll just go to the Explorer and drag and drop the null in, and then link the null. In this case, you want the out name into the null name. And now this is ready to go. We can use our middle mouse and move this entire tree. As you can see, you can move the middle mouse and you move the entire tree. And what are we going to do when the particles are inside the null? Well, very simply, we could just mute them. It's one option. So what will happen here is when they get in the null, they just stop. Not very exciting, but that's one effect you could create. But let's do something a bit more interesting. So we have a true value here. So let's say when they get inside the null, they're going to change color. So we could do a set particle color. There's set particle color. we need to give it a color, so we'll just say blue right now. Blue seems good enough. We only want those to execute when they're inside the null. So we need an if statement as well. And if is one of the programming ones, or execution nodes. And we'll say if this is true, so we do the condition into result, and if it's true, we want to set the particle color to be blue. Now if it's false, what do we want the particle color to be set? Well, we could link in a different color there, or we could just leave it as is and see what happens. Bring this into port 4. Simulate some last port there. If I hit play, if they go inside, they're turning blue. And they're only turning blue while they're inside. It'd be easier to see these if I change its icon or shape to, for instance, a box. And if we go to shaded mode, maybe a little bit easier to see what's going on here. So you can see as they go inside, they turn blue. It's just wherever the particle is, and they'll stay blue until they die. So that's setting these particles to blue when they're inside. Because there's no if false, if I want them to be a different color when they come out, we can copy this, Control C, Control V, and make them a different color if it's false. Let's make that color here, say red. And now the test will allow these particles to be red when they're outside, or blue when they're inside. If I move this down, we can see they change color wherever they're inside or not inside the null. And when I move them out, they go back to their existing color. So this is a simple if statement we can use to control that. There's also what's called a state tree and state graphs, and a state will allow you to change things slightly more advanced way than an if statement. And these are located under state, and you'll see if you type state in, you'll see a state and a state machine, and we'll look at that next.